This week I'm in the vibrant city of Newcastle Upon Tyne to meet local Christians and enjoy the famous Geordie spirit. Welcome to Songs of Praise. In today's programme, I find out how Newcastle United are using the love of football to support the local disabled community.
It's really fun because you get to play with your friends and people that have the same problem as you.
JB Gill catches up with Songs of Praise regular Karen Gibson to find out what it was like to sing at the royal wedding.
Had no idea how huge the response would be, and it's a real blessing, and I'm thanking God every day.
And we hear from contemporary Christian singer-songwriter Michael W. Smith about the inspiration behind one of his biggest hits.
I call it sort of a holy moment. I was all by myself in my studio, and I just felt like God showed up.
Seven bridges span the Tyne to unite Newcastle on the north side with its neighbour Gateshead on the south. Here in the heart of the city is the church of St Thomas the Martyr, and Christians from both sides of the river and beyond have come together to sing. Our first hymn, led by Philippa Hannah and her band, is a message of assurance that Jesus is our advocate before the throne of God above.
Before the throne of God above, I have a strong and perfect plea, a great high priest whose name is love, whoever lives and pleads for me. My name is graven on his hands, my name is written on his heart. I know the word in hell he stands, no tongue can bid me thence depart, no tongue can bid me thence depart. When Satan tempts me to despair and tells me all the guilt within, of words I look and see him there, who made an end to all my sin. Because the sinless Savior died, my sinful soul is counted free, for God the just is satisfied to look on him and pardon me, to look on him and pardon me. Beholding there the risen Lamb, my perfect, spotless righteousness, the great unchangeable I am, the King of glory and of grace. One with himself I cannot die, my soul is purchased by his blood, my life is hid with Christ on high, with Christ my Savior and my God, with Christ my Savior and my God.
Newcastle was founded around 2,000 years ago as a Roman fort called Pons Aelius or Alien Bridge. Just outside the city is Wallsend, the easterly starting point for the spectacular World Heritage Site of Hadrian's Wall. Most of us don't know that the Romans who built and lived on Hadrian's Wall had Christian connections. So I've come to Corbridge Museum to the west of Newcastle to find out more. It houses the remains of a Roman town. Curator Francis McIntosh is going to let me handle some of the precious artefacts, so we're wearing some protective gloves. I can't wait to see them.
We call it Hadrian's Wall because the Emperor Hadrian, who reigned 117 to 138, ordered it to be built. It runs from the east to the west coast across Britain. Why it was built, we don't know. There's probably many reasons. To mark the boundary, the northwestern frontier of the Roman Empire, to maybe act as a military boundary, perhaps as a tax boundary. Scholars have been arguing and will be arguing for many years to come just about kind of what it meant.
Many of us think that Christianity hadn't reached these parts when Hadrian's Wall was built, but some evidence you've discovered recently suggests otherwise.
There's very small traces of evidence in Britain that perhaps it came a little bit earlier than we thought. So we have, for example, this stone which is maybe 3rd to 4th century in date and has thought to be a relief of the sun god, Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun god, who's a Syrian deity. He's got, you can see these rays or his nimbus around him, which does have some linkage to some of the Christian motifs, perhaps of Jesus or the angels and God with those rays behind him. So whether or not it is Sol or perhaps Jesus is still debated.
Now we have these very lovely gloves on. You've got something else to show me that links this place to Christianity
that's right.
as well.
Some smaller, more delicate pieces.
Can we have a look?
Yes. So I have 2 pieces in here, both finger rings, and if you put your hands out you can take this one. This is a replica of the gold finger ring called the Amelia finger ring. And the inscription, which is in Greek, reads Amelia Zazes, which is the start of the phrase, Amelia, may you live with God.
Oh my goodness.
Which is really quite exciting and something definitely not pagan, obviously. And this style of ring dates from the 2nd to the 4th century. Unfortunately, we didn't find it in an archaeological context because it was found by a man pulling up turnips in the 19th century, but just the hint that it could be here in the 2nd century is quite amazing. And then this piece is from Chester's Roman fort, which is just up the road, and it's made of jet. And it's a finger ring with a Cairo backwards or retrograde, and then around the outside it says, who shall separate mine and thine while life lasts? So although it doesn't have specific religious words in there, the phrasing suggests it is Christian, and obviously the Cairo is a bit of a big hint too.
Why is it so important to preserve these artefacts?
Well, personally I think it's hugely important because it shows that the history of Christianity goes back further in Britain than perhaps people thought of. You know, they hear about Bede and the monks coming over and Christianising Britain, but perhaps that had already started a few centuries earlier. They're just one small piece of our really complex and interesting history.
Hadrian's Wall cuts right across the country, and beyond the other end of it, 53 miles southwest of here, is Kendal, where we travel for our next hymn.